Evening, everybody. Notice that Derek's not here quite yet, but it is 7 o'clock. So I'd just like to remind those that are online, please be aware if you're attending this meeting, our meetings are being recorded for future viewing. And we'd like to acknowledge that we're privileged to gather on the traditional territory of the Kwakwala speaking peoples. So we'll call the meeting to order. And are there any additions or amendments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion, please, to accept the to adopt the agenda?
I was going to suggest, sorry, I had to get unmuted,
Sorry,
my mistake, that we deferred or leave the Fox disposal issue on the table as opposed to dealing it with it tonight, because all the
That's in
information was.
camera.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that one's in camera. Anything else though? Okay, so seeing none, then can I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda? Seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, great. We have no petitions or delegations this evening. So are there any amendments to the minutes for January 26, 2021 regular council meeting minutes? And seeing none, can I have a motion to adopt them, please? Moved, seconded. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then minutes of February 2nd, 2021, Committee of the Whole. Are there any amendments? And if there are none, if I can have a motion to adopt, please.
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Good. Okay, correspondence. Sorry, let me just get to the page. So just for information, correspondence 5A, letter dated from the former chair, Brenda Lee, just letting the Vancouver Island Regional Library region know that Rosemary Banana will be retiring this year. So just for information. And then the next, so just vote to receive for information, please. Move, seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then letter dated February 1st, 2021 from Dave Carson, just letting you know of the new board appointments to Vancouver Island Regional Library.
Move receipt and congratulations to Mayor Wickstrom on her appointment as chair.
Thank you very much. Most pleased because there's a really good mix of urban and rural on the board. So I'm quite pleased about that. Seconder for that motion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you. Next page, item C. We have a donation request from St. John Galbert United Anglican Church, which is also known as the A-Frame Church.
Move for discussion.
Okay, seconder on that? Good. Okay, council. What is your pleasure on this one?
If I may?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I should look up. Yes, please, Councillor Downey.
I know that we talked about establishing a policy and what the distribution would look like around our decision to allocate a portion of the funds for, I forget what the wording was, Anne Marie, help me out, but basically this ask fits nicely within that request. So it's a large ask. It's more than we would typically award, but that is the intent of the COVID funding. And when I look through the document on council policy for donations, eligibility 1, A through F, really St. John Galbert meets those criteria. And I suppose we could follow through in this application because it's a large amount and ask them to do a presentation. And that would be the will of the council. I personally would be okay with awarding the $10,000 to them. I have gone and assisted with food distribution day there. And I know Deborah Murray fairly well from Rotary, and we are always apprised as to what's going on there. So they definitely are meeting needs in our community. And for that reason, I would support this allocation today.
So just to further on that, for information for council, at the regional district table, it was mentioned that the funds could be dispersed to a nonprofit if they are delivering a municipal service. And so our CFO is looking into this right now to make sure. And if that's the case, that doesn't necessarily mean that the door is closed, because we know with the COVID funding, things change, and that would be where we would come in for advocacy if we felt that the guidelines that the government had put are a little too restrictive and people weren't able to access them. So go
Okay.
ahead. Yep, go ahead, Councillor
I
Mitchell.
didn't catch that at all from the guidelines. Can you quote the page and the clause for that?
That's because there aren't any, because it's very, very vague. So there was a group of CFOs, well, any CFO, and that took part in asking questions. And that was one of the things that was reported by the government. So that was in an informational meeting that CFOs took part in. So
okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So you're saying that all we can do under their interpretation of the guidelines is give money to people who are going to do what the municipality would do anyway. Is that right?
So my understanding is, for example, if we had we built a daycare and we asked for a not-for-profit to run that daycare, they would qualify. If we had, some sort of a building where a non-for-profit ran a service for us, they would qualify. So that's what we're just getting clarification on. I did actually speak to the proponent. They came into my office to talk about something else. And I did tell them that we were looking into this. So I think that tabling until we found the answers would be appropriate, unless we were looking to fund it through our regular grant and aid program. And having said that, OrcaFest just announced that they won't be running OrcaFest, and we normally give $6,000 there.
Well, after all this time, we finally decided we were going to give some of this out, and we're not going to give it up because we don't know the procedure. So I'm going to move that we grant their request, whatever way we can do it. If the administration is not comfortable with using the COVID funds, then let's use our grant and aid funds, but they need the money. They're doing the work and they need the help. So I'm going to move that we give the money, the 10,000.
I'll second.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
So further discussion on that, just to let you know, I think that's fine with what you did, but that we have to make sure that it comes from the right fund. So whether it's our grant and aid or the COVID, because it can put future funding in jeopardy. Anybody else? Anne Marie or Councillor Barron?
When do we think we'll have an answer, like from CFO? Because I too, when I read it, I was like, perfect. This fits into that vulnerable people, services for vulnerable people, and I think they do a great job, and it's exciting. So when do we think we would have an answer on that? And is there any accounting reason why the check can't be cut and then it gets balanced in the background, like a expense account or something? I don't know.
Do we have our finance assistant with us, Laura, this evening, Pete?
Mayor Wickstrom, no, I'm afraid we don't.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that she did send out the request using this particular request as the example to the ministry. So I'm hoping that we hear back fairly soon.
Okay. Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Mayor Wickstrom. Sorry for being late, everyone. Yeah, I wonder about sort of an interim amount, maybe. I support the staff recommendation on this if they don't feel we're ready to implement it. So I guess I'm not supporting the motion, but I would support a smaller amount out of our grant and aid. I don't even know if our grant and aid budget has $10,000 in it. So I think if we table this for a little longer and gave some interim funding, that might please everyone. Me. Thanks.
Pete, can I ask, is it normally 20,000 that we budget for our grant and aid?
If memory serves me, yes, it's around $25,000, somewhere in that realm.
Okay. And as I said, I just read that OrcaFest won't be running this year. So there's that amount there as well. Okay, so we have a motion on the table to approve and figure out the appropriate fund that it comes out later. Councillor Barron?
I was just going to say, does the motion have to include where the money's coming from? No?
No.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Okay.
Call a question.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, no. Oh, here it is. Sorry. Trying to work on a table here. Okay. Item 6A, Chilton Arena backup power system. Move for discussion. Okay. So we can start the discussion, or I can invite, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I think we were going in the same direction. I do see that Greg Fletcher, the administrator from the regional district, is in the waiting room.
Okay. So did council want to have a discussion first and invite, oh, never mind, he's already in. Okay. Questions for the CAO from the regional district? I know there were a few last time.
I'd like to hear the business case for this proposal and why the town of Port McNeill would want to become involved in it.
Just test my microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much, Greg.
So there's a few reasons to get involved. First of all, we have already have solar panels on the arena. So right now, all the power is fed right back into the grid. So we don't have actually access to that power if the power goes out. So secondly, if in the case of an emergency at the arena and people are in the change rooms, right now, there's no lights down in the change rooms. We have emergency lighting down there, but the change rooms themselves don't have the lights. So we need to replace those anyways. And we also would like to have it such that people can get out of the building in case of an emergency and if you're having a major event and a power outage, it just makes it safer. So there's the overall safety process. The next layer is emergency backup systems for both the office there so that they can operate continuously so that power outages don't affect the operation at all. Secondly, it's that facility is used for meeting rooms as well. The image room in particular, that's the upstairs room in the arena. And so we have lots of use partly because that's the only facility of that size in the town that's hooked up to internet and like what you're doing in the Zoom type of thing. And so it's also served as a backup system for the regional district, but it is also available to the town or any other community groups for that matter. Next thing, it has a kitchen on it. So we have 5 of these power backup systems right now. They're all hooked up to solar and battery, just like what we're proposing. And so all these power outages that we've been having, none of our operations are affected at all. So on several occasions, the power has gone out either in a board meeting or during emergency planning meetings. And so we are still connected and uninterrupted for the power. And so the board itself at times may want to relocate to the arena. And part of that reason is that for doing renovations to our board room in the next year, like we're planning to do an expansion on it, we'll actually need that room anyways for that purpose. And again, uninterrupted power would be a bonus. The next layer on that is there's a kitchen associated with that room. So you would have, we also have a concession in the arena. So should you ever have an incident, it could be in the summer for that matter, where there's a fire and people are displaced and there's no hotel rooms, we can be instant on in terms of having facilities with cooking facilities plus refrigeration facilities. And both of those are really important in an emergency. So the main mobilization center, like the reception center at the high school, this would be complementary to it. So for a smaller emergency, the town could then choose to say, okay, the arena's open and it's functional. And so if there's a power outage, knowing that you have that 40 seat type facility it's a nice complement to your existing systems. So there's a number of reasons for doing that. The like on the systems that we do have, like in our office, we've been on continuously for about 2 years and a few months now. And it's also saved us a lot of money in the maintenance of our computer equipment and such. Like the network and the server are all attached to that system continuously. So they're completely uninterrupted, unaffected by power outages at all. So we've all experienced that all basically this last year more than ever, but it just underlines why that might be needed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Greg? Oh, I just wanted to say, I did have a question. This is if you are successful in the grant application, correct?
Well, this particular one is it's already funded by the gas tax
Okay.
committee of the regional district. So basically, they've already put up 32,000, and so the other option that we'd have would be to basically fund it out of taxation or out of reserves, which means if we did it that way and the arena committee agreed to doing that, McNeil residents would be paying $16,250 if it was done that way.
Okay, thank you.
It wouldn't be coming through the town, but it'd be directly assessed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Greg? Councillor Downey?
Greg, forgive me if these are dumb questions. In the article, some of the paperwork we had, it talks about switches and such. So my question is, does the switch in the primary distribution need to be upgraded?
The switch on which? Sorry.
In the primary distribution, does that need to be upgraded?
Okay, right now, like I was saying about the feed-in power, so the solar panels are connected to the feed-in directly. And so we have to build a switch so that it can go to batteries, and then the switch has to shut off automatically when the power comes back on. So that's the switching that's needed.
Oh, okay. So my question is, though, I'm looking at the quote and it references the switch, but I didn't see a switch referenced in the document. So is the switch part of this, or is there going to be additional costs?
The switch would be part of that.
Part of it. Okay, thank you. The other question would be, what about heating?
What about heating?
Yes.
It's a good question, and I'm glad you asked that one, because first I should start about what about cooling, because if the power goes out and there's ice in there, this cannot power the ice plant. Okay, so any illusion that you can carry on and play hockey and stuff, it's not going to happen. But for heating, we just run electric heaters, and we already have sort of a backup system for that, but they're just regular wall heaters. We've re-insulated the rooms and such there so that it's a little more efficient than it used to be.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Cole? No? Okay, so we are looking for a recommendation that council support this request for staff to include 16,000 in the 2021 budget process, or something else if that's what council wishes. Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Mayor Wickstrom. I'll make the motion as you just described.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Can we get that on the screen? We missed that, the last motion.
So I've just read it directly from our agenda, actually. It's written in there.
I'm okay with that, but looks like
Yep, that's fine.
they're on it.
There we go. So the recommendation that council wishes to support this request, staff include the 16,000 in the 2021 budget process. So it's been first and seconded. Any further discussion on that?
Mayor Wickstrom, I do
Yep.
have an opinion on that. Surprise. First of all, I might as well just get it out. I guess currently, I believe that the arena has been operating within the building code. So the emergency lighting that exists meets code. It's not deficient. I don't hear that anywhere. Beyond allowing the arena to operate in a limited manner, obviously not making ice, in a power outage, what are the direct benefits to the citizens of Port McNeill? And there was a number of them listed there, an emergency backup system so that they could continue to use the office at the arena. A backup system so they could use the arena as a regional emergency center. We have an emergency center that's being paid for with tax dollars that's quite sufficient. It has the ability to house people in the gym if there was an emergency, a tsunami, for example, and we had to put 50 or 100 people in a place to sleep. We could do that in the gym at the school, and we could feed them, and they have showers and washrooms and all those things. And as a backup generator, already paid for, already there. So duplicating that in a community of 2,400 people, I can't support that. What are the ongoing operating costs? We haven't heard. We don't know, but we know there will be some, and those will come out of tax dollars as well. The office space that's going to be available will be inaccessible office space. It'll be on the second floor. So anybody that needs accessible space won't be able to utilize it. So it isn't meeting that need. And one of our commitments is to make the town more accessible. That certainly doesn't allow for that. Does this existing taxpayer funded setup at Sunset School meet our needs? I believe that it does. We have a location with all the things that I listed, already paid for, already arranged. And we already have an emergency program coordinator to look after that in Melody. So we don't really need the regional district to take over that role or to supplement that role. I don't see us asking for it, and I don't think we need it. The regional district office, we need to just focus on that for a moment, currently has a backup power system, which we paid King's ransom for to put in, and it worked great for them. When we had our 4-day power outage, they were able to make do. It wasn't perfect, but it was way better than what a lot of other people had. They operated through it with some accommodation. It obviously wasn't perfect, but it worked well. And my understanding is that the regional district office is appropriate to act as a command center for a regional emergency at this time, that they don't need another facility to do that from. They have what they need. So does this have the support of the Port McNeill emergency coordinator? I don't see that in there anywhere. And I guess my last concern is if we're going to use this as an emergency center, we're going to take a freezer and turn it into a place to keep people warm and feed them and allow them to use washrooms and so on. None of this makes any sense to me, and I'm completely opposed to it. And those are my reasons why.
Okay,
and it's
you.
$50,000 of tax money that we're going to be spending, and then we're going to be going to the citizens of Port McNeill in a few weeks. I'm guessing the council's going to vote to raise property taxes. To spend $50,000 on this, I don't think so. I can't support it.
It's 16,000, and it could come out of the COVID money that was.
It's $48,000 of BC taxpayers' money, and we contribute to that. So I think we have to treat it like it's our money, the whole 48,000, and just say, hey, we don't need to do this.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
not necessary.
Okay, any other comments?
I had just two questions on the Hakai Energy Solutions quote. It actually says the additional cost within our scope may be in the range of approximately $5,000, depending on final determination of the rating of the switch and total capacity. So, like Greg, you said it was included, but that looks to me like it's not included.
Well, there are other quotes. This is just the quote per price, just to get a ballpark figure. And the ask is only for up to the 16,000. If it comes in higher than 16,000, then that's fine. We did get another quote as well that includes that switch, but there are some uncertainties in that price, and one of them is the sub panel. There's wiring associated with that sub panel, so it's not. We don't know 100% if it's going to cost 48,000. The Hakai quote was actually lower than that, and we had put aside money for the electrical work as well, and so we're not 100% sure about the total, other than that the ask wouldn't be. It's up to 16,000.
And just to answer that question, Emery, I just saw a note come in on the chat. That is from Jerry Little, the arena manager. Says 5,000 is included in the $48,000 figure.
Okay, and then, oh shoot, I had another question. Then my other question actually was about the, so if the arena, if we chose not to do this, Mr. Fletcher, if I understand you correctly, but there's an arena committee that can decide that they want to press ahead with it, and then we bear the cost that way?
That is correct. If they decide that, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but basically the money from the regional district side comes under the gas tax, and whether it's federal, provincial, or whatever, that money is just being allocated from that, and it isn't currently coming out of the local tax base. If the arena committee did decide to do that, it's a 3-person committee that makes recommendations to the board, but basically electoral area D, which is WAS, High Creek is C, and Mayor Wickstrom are on the committee. So basically they get to decide that. It's just a 3-person vote, and it's up to them to make that call.
And the percentage, Greg, is figured out because of the percentage with our arena agreement. And so when there is an arena project, that's how it is figured out. That's
right. Right now, Port McNeill just happens to have 1/3 of the assessed value. And so they would pay 1/3 the cost. Electoral area D, with the smallest population by far, pays the largest portion of the cost, which would be over 40%, 45%, I think. So they'd be paying 22,000 if it came out of the tax base, as opposed to gas tax.
Like, I kind of feel like I'm on a gangplank here, because if we've got an opportunity to take it out of COVID funds and not tax dollars, then I feel like that's the prudent thing to do, although I'm not 100% convinced that this is what needs to happen. But if we don't support it and then it gets voted in, then it is going to the taxpayers as opposed to possibly coming out of the COVID money, which I'm assuming it would go under building restart. Would that be how it would fit in?
Would have to. Did we lose our CAO, or is he just not in my screen here? Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry.
I would have to look into that to get the proper information for council.
And yeah, and if it's tax, then it'll come out of our assessment out of the arena, correct? If we decide not to go this route, allocating it from the COVID money? Pete or the CAO or Greg, sorry, both CAOs.
Yeah, it would be added to the regional district tax levy. So you'd see that on your tax statement would be coming from the regional district as opposed to the town.
Okay. And so would that be an increase, or it would just come out of the tax levy that we normally pay?
Well, right now, it probably come out of the reserves, but that means it's paid out of the same source.
Okay.
Whereas, right, if it goes out of gas tax, it's not coming out of the reserves at all, and so it doesn't affect McNeill in any way.
more questions? If I see none. So there was a motion then to support the request that staff include 16,000 in the 2021 budget process. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming this evening, Greg. Okay, next we have on the agenda 7A wayfinding signage from the Tourism Advisory Group. Move for discussion. Moved, seconded. Okay. Okay, I'm going to hand this over to Councillor Downey, who is, I think, the lead via being a liaison with the Tourism Committee. Go ahead.
Okay. What you have in front of you tonight is the mock-up. And a week ago, as we were preparing for this meeting, I was looking for a motion that council would support this expenditure if the quote came in within 10% of the grant funding. However, we have had some other interest that has been shown on this project. And so if we could table this to our next meeting, that would be appreciated.
Okay. So motion to table. Moved and seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so we'll table this then for discussion at our next meeting.
If I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm curious to get maybe some feedback just from other councillors on the information packet. It's probably worth just hearing what your thoughts were on what was proposed for signage.
I think it looks phenomenal.
Same. I think it looks really, really good. Go ahead, Councillor Cole.
My only question or maybe concern was the, I guess we call it the Room to Grow logo, which normally says Room to Grow, and I don't see it in the mock-up, which is what I like. I think it would be, the words would be too small if they were included, so I just can't really tell. So I assume it's not in there. But yeah, I also sort of want to bring up the bigger picture of this is all of a sudden our main branding and logo, and it was never discussed with council or anything. And at this point, I'm prepared to just go with it because I want to get stuff done. But this was not designed, it was kind of ad hoc by our our OCP planner, and we're making sort of a big investment, or we're jumping in with both feet. The logo thing, fine. The Room to Grow, maybe I'm not thrilled about. So I don't know if council's open to discussing that at a later date. That's my input.
Hey, Councillor Barron.
I think taglines come and go, and I would rather not have the tagline on there. It's grown on me, I'll be honest.
There was room.
Yeah, it's very grown up, Councillor Downey, is how I think. To me, that doesn't, it's very grown up. But I think the wording off, because like I say, taglines come and go, and that would be the feedback.
Yeah, I think the signing looks fresh, professional, current. It doesn't look dated. I really do like it. Yeah. So there's your feedback, and we'll talk some more about the other issues afterwards.
Thank you very much.
Tabled. Okay, thank you. 7B, we've got recommendations from the February 2nd, 2021 Committee of the Whole meeting, and it was just one. And that was that it was recommended that the town create a single-page, two-sided logo or town log for the month of February and March, and just bring that forth for ratification. So somebody move that. Seconded. Okay. I seen a hand swing by there. All those in favor? As you know, for those of you on Facebook, I did throw it out there. I thought, what the heck? And there has been a lot of positive feedback. Councillor Cole, brilliant about the color because people really like the color. Councillor Downey, I was wrong about the tide guide and I publicly said so.
Aaron.
And Councillor Barron, I publicly said so. Seems that the community really does want that tide guide. Yeah, and the odd, I wouldn't call it negative comment, but the odd comment that wasn't hoorah was actually was some really good feedback. So yeah, if I know I said to Shelley, because she took the lead on that, our receptionist, but if you can reiterate again that, thank you very much. That was well received by everybody, probably much to her relief because she answers the phones. Did you get any, by the way? Was there anything that came into the office just out of curiosity's sake?
No, nothing that came in. And just while I've got the microphone, credit also goes to our new admin assistant, Heather Swift, who did the final copy up for distribution.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Great. We can all breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, old business. We've got 9A. So we had someone come and give us a presentation on the social procurement initiative. And so it's back to the table for discussion. What's your pleasure? How about we'll be official? Move for discussion? Okay, great. Okay, who would like to speak first? Go ahead, Councillor Downey.
My question is directed to staff, and that would be, do they see any value in this?
Oh, that's putting them on the hot seat.
Thank you, Councillor Downey, through Mayor Wickstrom. At this particular point in our organization, we're freshening up our purchasing policy, which still needs to be further reviewed. Quite frankly, I would say at this point, it wouldn't be of a huge value until we get some more policies supporting us on purchasing and seeing where we're going strategically.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Barron?
Is there like if you sign up by a certain date, something changes, reason why we need to do this? Or we would consider doing this?
I'll defer to our CAO.
I could actually hear, Heather Swift was the one that's been corresponding with them. And I just heard her yell through the wall, no.
There's no early bird registration or anything like that? Okay.
No.
Then I would like to move we table this until a later date as when it's more appropriate or it's more on the front burner. As to, don't roll your eyes at me, Derek. I honestly, I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't understand it. And I think that we don't have any big developments going on. We don't have, I mean, when you look at how things are done, we I believe are trying our best to keep our spending local. I don't see anything coming on the horizon that, and it's tying staff, tying us to a set of guidelines and agreements and policies. And if, like I said in my email, if somebody can show me the trees for the lack of the forest that I'm seeing, or however you say it, I don't get it.
So there was a motion to table. Did somebody want to second that? Okay, Councillor Mitchell, for the discussion. So I think Councillor Cole, you were first. Did you want to comment? And
Yes,
then
thank
Councillor
you.
Mitchell.
I don't suppose anyone actually spent time and looked on their actual website and the information that is there. And there's countless examples of entire purchasing policies. It doesn't just focus on social procurement. It's $336. Yeah. You know, and we've talked about contracts about, you know, favoring local suppliers because they do local things and support the community. You know, this is a way to legitimize that kind of thing, not just it be loosey-goosey. So could table if we like, but I would encourage everyone to maybe just log on there and see what they got to offer.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mitchell and then Councillor Downey.
Okay, well, I'm not going to say anything about the motion because I'm sorry, about the topic, because the motion to table is a privileged motion and we have to vote on it, not discuss the motion anymore. And then if the motion to table is defeated, then we continue talking about it. If it's passed, then we don't talk about it anymore. That's what it is. But so we need to decide if we're going to follow the procedure and table it or not. I don't really care. I'd like to say something, but I want to do it properly.
Well, I'm going to be a little bit more looser on the Roberts rules because in a lot of other things we are. So I'll just wait to vote on it. So go ahead and you can make your comment if you like.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about the motion. We're going to talk about that. And I guess my feeling is that we need to ask ourselves the question. We're buying 6 computers right now or whatever for council. And are we buying those locally? Let's just start by procuring as much as we can locally and not throw $336 into another program that nobody really has time to avail themselves of everything that it offers right now. So I think let's just have that mindset to buy locally, support our local businesses, the ones that are living in our community.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Downey.
My comment was just going to be that, yes, I did poke around on their website and the value I saw in it is that we may be able to borrow policies that have been crafted there and adapt them rather than recreate them for ourselves, which is why I asked the question if staff saw any value in it at this time. So. Okay.
Sorry, I was muted. And I just wanted to say, I mean, I think I did also go on the website and yes, there are policies. I too am leaning towards tabling it. I'm not opposed to it. I guess I'm just afraid that it will get bigger legs and then a much more rigid thing that staff has to adhere to and work on. That's my concern. So all those in favor then of tabling? Opposed? Okay, sorry, was that an opposed, Councillor Cole? Okay. In favor. Okay, new business. We have 10A, emergency fire equipment facilities and road rescues. So I have included in there the notes from the meeting with all of the municipalities that I believe I either talked about it at a committee of the whole meeting or I sent you guys an email. So there's the minutes and they're just looking at writing a letter to Minister Osborne looking, the first paragraph will have the word lack of consistent funding because there has been some recent funding and there is some smaller funding that is available, but in particular, they're looking for the larger capital purchases of trucks. And one of the things they are asking of our municipalities is looking for how many calls we do to support this letter. How many calls do we do that are road rescue related? Because we're finding that a high majority of our calls are actually for highway rescue. So just looking for a motion that council approve town of Port McNeil's signature to go on this letter of support. Moved by Councillor Barron, seconded by Councillor Downey. And if you can just put that up there, Pete, just so that we're consistent with putting the motions up.
We've actually got Heather Swift doing our,
okay.
our minute taking today.
Can I make a comment?
Yep.
just towards the letter, I was reading through it, and I think really what our point is that in small communities, our mill rate is set much higher because we do not have the tax base the larger communities do have. So Vancouver is a mill rate of 1.5. Port Hardy's is 5.18. Zabalas is 13. So I wonder if there couldn't be a bit more, a stronger argument just saying that when these needs arise for a small community to move up a mill rate, you know, it does affect the taxpayers, and it's not equal. Urban and rural are not equal.
Yeah, we'll make that suggestion. Sorry, so that motion, yeah, the signature. Thank you. That's good. Great. That's a good point, Councillor Downey.
Oh, I found it. Sorry, the one thing I was going to put in from a 2-bit point of view is it's not just the actual number of calls, or I mean, I think we're very privileged that we don't have the amount of calls that like say Port Hardy has, but we still have to do the training, and we still have to have the equipment, and it's the government's playbook that they put out that covers everybody, not rural versus urban. It's their playbook that we're trying to meet. So in order to meet their standards, they need to cough it up.
Okay. I'll make all of these suggestions, and then just so that you know, there are, I think, 12 other municipalities. So, but we're confident that we'll be able to get a meeting with Minister Osborne, and that we will bring up anything that didn't make up in the letter that our councils bring forward as well. Okay, so if everybody's happy with that motion, we have a first and seconder. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Council. Item 10B, sorry, 10B is just Mayor's report for information. Don't have any questions. We'll go on to council reports if anybody has anything to report verbally. Okay, Councillor Downey.
Just to let you know that I had a health network meeting this past week. It's actually a week last Wednesday. And at that meeting, I did inform the group, because it's comprised of people from across the region, and just made them aware that of what our current doctor situation is, and what we're looking at going forward. And so that has generated some action, and as you guys all know, and I think that going forward, we have an opportunity to really drill down on what healthcare will be here in Port McNeill in such a way that we benefit our citizens, and also consider the needs of our doctors and the other health professionals that are operating within our locale. So just I'll just say that.
Yep. Okay. If there's nothing further to add, or are you trying to unmute, Councillor Barron? No. Okay. So there are no items from in camera to be made public, but I do need a motion under section 91J, information that is prohibited, or information that if were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, questions from the public or media? We don't have any media, but we do have public. Okay, I don't see any. So motion to adjourn and to go in camera, please. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Was carried.
Do we have a 5 or 10 minute recess? 5 minutes, maybe?
5 minutes, sure, for a bio break. Absolutely. We'll see
There
you
you
back
go.
in 5 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, everybody.